Right now, something inside you is about to shift. Not because I'm going to tell you something new, but because you're about to remember something you've been carrying your entire life without knowing its name. Jung called it the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming who you were always meant to be. And today, we're going to walk through that door together, using a single, ancient symbol, the crown. But not the kind you're imagining. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will understand something about yourself that most people spend decades avoiding. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
If this channel has ever helped you understand yourself more deeply, take 1 second and hit subscribe. That small act helps this message reach the people who need it most. Now, let's begin. Close your eyes for a moment, or soften your gaze. Let the noise of the day fall away. Feel the weight of your own breathing. Notice the rhythm in your chest. That rhythm has been with you since the moment you were born. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't perform. It simply is. Now imagine standing in a vast, dimly lit hall. The air is cool and still. Before you, resting on 4 stone pedestals, are 4 crowns. Each one pulses with a different energy. Each one carries a different frequency.
One of them already knows your name. You don't choose it with logic. You choose it with something older than thought. The first crown is austere, almost plain, iron forged in silence. The second is crystalline, translucent. Light passes through it like water through glass. The third is woven with roots and green life, breathing and alive. And the fourth glows from within, dark and luminous at the same time, like embers buried beneath ash. One of these stirred something inside you the moment I described it. Hold that feeling. Don't analyze it yet. We'll return to it. But first, I need to tell you why this matters far more than you think.
Jung wrote extensively about the archetypes that live within the collective unconscious, universal patterns of energy that shape how we move through life. He understood that deep inside every human psyche, there are forces waiting to be recognized, not created, recognized. These 4 crowns represent 4 of those archetypal energies, and the one that calls to you reveals something about the stage of individuation your soul is navigating right now. Here is where most people make a critical mistake. They identify with only one archetype and reject the rest. But individuation is not about choosing a single identity. It is about integrating all of them.
Still, there is always one that leads, one that serves as the gateway, and that is the one your unconscious just selected. Let me show you what each crown reveals, and pay attention, because the third crown carries a message that might change how you see every relationship in your life. If you felt drawn to the first crown, the Iron Crown, you carry the archetype of the sovereign self. This is not about authority over others. It is about authority over yourself. You are the kind of person who holds steady when the ground shakes beneath everyone else. Your strength doesn't announce itself. It simply endures.
You've survived things that would have shattered weaker foundations, and you did it quietly, without applause, without recognition. People feel safe around you, even if they can't articulate why. You don't manipulate. You don't perform. Your word is your architecture, and you build your life upon it. But here is the shadow that Jung would ask you to confront. You carry too much alone. You have confused strength with solitude. You believe that needing support is a form of failure. It is not. The sovereign self must learn that true inner authority includes the courage to be vulnerable, to say, "I need rest," to allow someone else to hold the weight, even for a moment.
Your crown is not diminished by softness. It is completed by it. If the crystalline crown caught your breath, you walk the path of the seer. Your perception is your gift, and sometimes your burden. You sense the unspoken. You read the subtle shifts in energy that others miss entirely. Where most people see surfaces, you see depths. Where others hear words, you hear intention. Jung spoke of the transcendent function, the psyche's ability to bridge the conscious and the unconscious. You live in that bridge naturally. Clarity is your element. Honesty is your atmosphere. People feel more real around you because your energy does not permit masks. But the shadow side of the seer is isolation. Because you perceive so much, you can become exhausted by the weight of what you see. You retreat not out of coldness, but out of necessity. Solitude is how you purify your perception. But be careful that solitude does not become a fortress. The world needs what you see. Your clarity is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to illuminate. A healer in the Jungian sense. Someone whose very presence restores equilibrium. You feel the rhythms of life the way a tree feels seasons. You don't fight the current. You move with it. You understand patience not as passivity, but as wisdom. You know that growth cannot be forced, that wounds close in their own time, that silence can be more nourishing than any word. People are drawn to your warmth without understanding what pulls them. You listen without judgment. You hold space without expectation. And in doing so, you remind others of something they have forgotten, that they are whole. But here is what Jung would tell you, and what you must hear. The healer's shadow is self-neglect. You give so freely that you forget your own roots need water. You absorb the pain of others and mistake it for your own. You must learn that protecting your energy is not selfish. It is sacred. The garden cannot give fruit if the gardener never rests. Your compassion must include yourself. Before I reveal the fourth crown, I want to pause. If what you've heard so far has resonated with something real inside you, leave a comment below telling me which crown chose you, not which one you chose, which one chose you. There is a difference. And if you haven't yet subscribed, now is the moment. This journey we're on together is only beginning. Now, the fourth crown. If your soul reached toward the crown of ember and shadow, you carry the most ancient archetype of all, the alchemist. Jung dedicated much of his life to studying alchemy, not as primitive chemistry, but as a symbolic map of psychological transformation. The alchemist is the one who transmutes darkness into gold, not by escaping suffering, but by entering it fully and emerging changed. You have been through fire more than once. You have felt the ground dissolve beneath you and discovered that you could rebuild yourself from nothing. Every collapse became a crucible. Every betrayal became a lesson. Every ending became a doorway that no one else could see.
Your presence is magnetic because it carries gravity. People sense your depth before you speak a single word. You don't tolerate superficiality because you have paid too high a price for truth. When you love completely. When you commit with your entire being. And when something must end, you let it burn, knowing that what is real will survive the flame.
Now it is time to wear it. 4 crowns, 4 archetypes, 4 doorways into the self. But remember what I said at the beginning. These are not separate identities. They are 4 faces of your wholeness. There are mornings when you lead with iron certainty. Afternoons when your perception cuts through every illusion. Evenings when your gentleness heals what words cannot reach. And nights when you sit with your own shadows and transform them into understanding. Jung believed that the goal of human life is not perfection, it is completeness. Your crown is not a single jewel, it is a constellation.
And the one that called to you today is simply the star that shines brightest in this particular season of your becoming. So carry it, not on your head where others can see it, but in your chest where only you can feel it. That steady pulse, that quiet knowing, that ancient sovereignty that no one gave you and no one can take. You were never meant to be small. You were meant to be whole. If this reached something real inside you, share it with one person who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want to continue this journey of depth and self-discovery. And I will see you in the next one, where we go even deeper. Until then, remember your crown.